Chrisean Rock's plane, wheels haven't even hit cruising altitude, and the man's already speed dialing a labor and delivery ward. Read that back to yourself. Read it slow. He drops one baby mama at LAX. Another one calls him mid-contraction every 2 minutes apart, and the first question out of his mouth on the live stream isn't what hospital. It's, let me talk to the doctor. Not, I'm on my way. Not breathe. Talk to the doctor. Because in his head, the paper trail already starts the second she says the word labor. Somewhere between the terminal and the freeway, Nevaeh Akira is 3 centimeters dilated on a kick stream asking her chat to sub up for a baby that hasn't been born yet, and her boyfriend is telling her on camera that a DNA test is mandatory. Real quick, before we open this file all the way, if the circus is what dragged you to this channel, tap the like, hit subscribe, flip the bell on. This one's about to move fast, and the receipts get weirder as we go. Sit tight. Here's where we are, playing. It's August 17th, 2026, a Monday, Los Angeles. Johnathan Jamall Porter, the man y'all know as Blueface, is on Kick live streaming what he calls a joyride after leaving Chrisean Rock at the airport. His pregnant girlfriend, Akira Williams, who goes by Nevaeh Akira, is on a separate Kick stream heading toward a hospital admission. 2 devices, 2 streams, 1 baby about to arrive. According to Complex, the labor call landed on Blue mid-drive, mid-broadcast, and mid-conversation with a chat that had spent the morning watching him play chauffeur for his ex. That's the setup. Now, let's actually walk the paper. Nevaeh's own words first, because they're the cleanest we've got. On her Kick stream that morning, on her way to get her membranes stripped, that's the procedure for anybody who hasn't been near a maternity ward this week. She says, and I'm quoting, "My revenge is being successful." She says it twice. She says, "I'm about to have 2 kids. It's the last thing that I'd ever be worried about." And she frames the whole day as her deciding to serve a baby its own eviction notice. That quote, the revenge one, is the one that's been ricocheting across the timeline all day, and it's been reposted by outlets tracking her stream in real time. Hold that quote. We'll come back to it. Second document. On Blueface's own live stream, the one from the car, his phone rings, and it's her. She tells him she's having contractions every 2 minutes. He asks how many centimeters she's dilated. She says 3. He asks if she's getting the epidural, the shot in the back, and her exact response on tape is, "Listen, I don't want to be asked these questions right now." His response back on tape, "Let me talk to the doctor." Complex has the clip archived. She hands the phone off. The nurse confirms she's in labor. He gets the confirmation and pivots on his own stream to canceling his studio session with the game. His words, not mine. "I was supposed to go to the studio with the game, Los Angeles Confidential. But it looks like I will be spending my time in the hospital." Then, in the same breath, he tells Chat, sub up for my newborn baby. "My baby mama's in labor right now. I'm gonna let that sit." Third document. And this one's the one nobody's really flagged yet. On that same drive-back stream, Blue tells Chat again in his own words, "Chat, stop with the DNA test stuff. Come on. We're going to do that regardless." Regardless. That's the word. He's not saying if. He's saying when. He's telling Chat on a monetized public broadcast that the paternity test on this child is already scheduled in his head. The Shade Room has been tracking the Blueface Nevaeh timeline since the initial pregnancy reveal, and the DNA request being publicly attached to Nevaeh's baby specifically is what Hollywood Unlocked has been reporting on since earlier this year, before the shower, before the labor, before the airport run. The demand isn't reactive. It's baseline. Fourth, Carlisa Saffold, that's Blue's mother, Carlisa, in the family framing, reportedly told Nevaeh she needed to essentially hold on before she reacted publicly to the shower, per the I Am Laudamercy archive that logged the mother-in-law messaging in the hours between the baby shower and the labor call. Whether Carlissa's account or one of the parody Carlissa Jason accounts actually sent that, the receipt in the wild says the family orbit was telling her to hold that baby, and because he was with the other one, meaning Chrisean per this repost aggregator, reported not confirmed. But the message got sent and Nevaeh saw it, and she responded on stream. Fifth, the baby got here. The birth is confirmed. Instagram post from an aggregator that timestamped the delivery puts the birth at August 18th, 2026, 8 pounds, and the name given publicly is Johnathan Jamall Porter Jr. Jr. Blue's first junior on his own words from the drive. That's a Tier 1 event file done on the board. Now, let's line these up, because the sequencing is where the story stops being messy and starts being deliberate. Sunday, August 16th, the baby shower. Cowboy-themed. Blue is there, briefly, per BCK Online. Chrisean Rock is also in Los Angeles that weekend, and per Tribune's syndication of the story, she ends up in a street fight after leaving the shower with an alleged friend of Nevaeh's. Later that same weekend, I'm going with the TMZ framing here, because they're the outlet that pinned the timeline first, puts Blueface and Chrisean together in Hollywood hours after the shower in an altercation with what multiple accounts allege was gunfire involved. 7 shots is the figure floating in the aggregators. Reportedly, loud word, thin paper on that specific number. Monday, August 17th, early. Blue drops Chrisean at the airport. He's streaming the drive. Multiple clip accounts logged it in real time. Monday, August 17th, that same morning before or during the airport run, Nevaeh streams her drive to her doctor's appointment. Kiera, Kaiban's sitting shotgun, is with her. She talks about Target, the yoga ball, the castor oil, the walking. She gets the membrane stripped. She goes home. Contractions escalate. Monday, August 17th, midday-ish. Contractions hit every 2 minutes. She calls him. He's still on the way back from LAX. She's already at the hospital. Alone in triage. His stream captures the call. Her stream captures the admission. That's the overlay. And this is where I have to stop and read it back to myself, because, hold up, he was still with Chrisean when the contractions started. Not still texting her. Still physically with her. In the car. On the way to the airport. And Nevaeh knew that. Everybody in her chat knew that. The baby shower had been the day before. The Hollywood incident had been that night. The airport run was the morning after. Nevaeh went to a routine OB appointment, got her membrane stripped, and by the time her water was preparing to talk, Blue was on I-405 with a suitcase in the back seat that wasn't hers. That's not a coincidence. That's a calendar. And I'm not saying she induced early on purpose. I'm saying she said her revenge was being successful. She said the baby needed to come out. She went and got the sweep, and the sweep did its job on the exact same clock as the airport drop-off. Whether she planned that timing or the universe planned it for her, the receipts sit next to each other on the page. One more overlay beat. Nevaeh addressing the baby shower on her stream. Nobody is perfect. I never got on this, saying I'm too perfect to have these type of things. I never bashed nobody for having EBT or for to go to a shelter. I still got some friends in the shelter. That's her responding directly to the shelter dig Blueface reportedly aimed at her during the shower, which multiple accounts logged in real time and which the Cheryl's World Archive has as part of the ongoing pattern this year. The point of the shelter comment on his end appears to be a public reminder of the leverage differential. The point of her response is to publicly refuse to accept that framing. The point of her calling her revenge being successful, same stream, same hour, is to publicly announce that she's building her exit inside the same broadcast where he's building his defense. Somebody in the comments has to know when exactly her kick monetization hit, because the whole sub up for my newborn baby pivot only works if the subs actually clear to her wallet and not his. If you were in that stream when she said it, drop the timestamp. Zoom in. One line from Blue's own broadcast, the drive stream, is the whole story compressed. Not the DNA line. Not the studio cancel line. This one, you guys didn't come to the baby shower. Shoo. So this is your chance. That is the man selling seats to the birth of a child he is publicly demanding a paternity test on. Same broadcast. Same tab of kick. Same monetization dashboard. Sub up for my newborn baby. We're going to do the DNA test regardless. Both sentences delivered inside the same hour of stream. That's not a contradiction the man is embarrassed by. That's a business model. Second zoom. Her line, how to turn on subs on Kick. If you guys know a way or anything, let me know. She is in real time on her way into a delivery room, asking a live audience for tech support on how to monetize her own stream. Not his, hers. The revenge line and the subconfig line are within minutes of each other. That's the seam. She's not running from the circus. She's applying for a wristband. She just wants her own tent. Third zoom. And this one's small, but it's the one I keep rereading. When the nurse asks her, "Ma'am, are you there?" and follows up with, "You've been there for 5 minutes by yourself. How are you going to be able to make it?" Nevaeh doesn't answer defensively. She just says, "I'm here, and I'm by myself." The nurse's tone in that transcription reads flat, procedural, but the follow-up question, "How are you going to be able to make it?" That's the nurse noticing something clinical about a person who arrived to triage in active labor unaccompanied. Somebody who has clocked labor and delivery rooms professionally will tell you that question isn't standard. That question means the staff already assessed the room. And Nevaeh's response, "I'm going to leave you to push the baby out by yourself," was her answering back to Blue on the phone on stream, telling him he was about to miss it. She stayed calm. He asked about the epidural before he asked about her. Team Blueface framing out in the wild right now. He made it. He canceled his plans. He showed up. He was at the hospital by her side, per multiple aggregators, including WDKX's syndication of the labor story and Jasmine Brand's IG story recap. The frame is, he prioritized his son. He killed a studio night with the game to do it. He canceled Los Angeles Confidential. He drove straight there. Good father energy, redemption arc, cue the applause. That's the version his stream is selling, and that's the version the loyalist chat is amplifying in the comments right now. Team Nevaeh's framing from her own broadcast. She's independent. She's uplifting herself. She's not going back to the shelter for anybody. She got herself off the platform he claims he put her on. Her revenge is her own bag. Her son is her everything. The baby shower may have gone sideways, the shelter reference may have hurt, the Chrisean weekend may have been a slap in the face, but she's not on this app to prove herself anymore. She said it directly, "I no longer can prove myself to nobody that doesn't want to hear me out." Team Nobody's framing, the one you'll see in the comments if the drift lands right, is that this is all content, that every party involved has a monetized dashboard open. That Blueface is streaming the labor because the sub count is a real number on a real kick payout. That Nevaeh is streaming the labor because her sub count is a real number too, and she just told chat she needs the money for diapers. That Chrisean Rock's participation in this weekend, the shower, the fight, the airport drop, the alleged shooting is content velocity. That's the cynical red. I want to Steelman the cynical read for one beat because it's the strongest counter to what I'm about to say. The cynical red holds that nobody involved in this story is actually a victim because everybody involved is broadcasting. When you broadcast, you consent to the content. When you consent to the content, you can't cry about the content. That's the argument. And on paper, it's clean. It's internally consistent. It flatters the viewer who doesn't want to feel anything about any of this. Here's where the paper breaks that read, Nevaeh on her own broadcast said this, and this is the quote that ends the cynical red. "I'm supposed to have a peaceful moment without being called me names being brought down. I thought my day could be special." She said that about the baby shower, on her own stream, to a live audience. She said the quiet part out loud. The streaming is not the shield, it's the exposure. And the shelter reference that reportedly came from Blueface's side during that shower isn't a content beat. That's a person with money and a platform using both against a person with less money and a smaller platform in front of a paying audience. That's the receipt the cynical read can't dissolve. The broadcast doesn't undo the harm. The broadcast is the harm's distribution channel. Everybody's got their eyes on the DNA test. That's the loud lane. That's the lane that Blueface himself put chat in when he said, "We're going to do that regardless." And that's the lane he wants us in, because as long as the conversation is about whether the baby is his, the conversation is not about what Nevaeh actually just did on her kick stream this morning. What she actually did was declare independence in front of thousands of people while 3 centimeters dilated. What she actually did was, and this is the part one keep going back to, build her own monetization infrastructure inside his ecosystem. On a Monday on the way to have his child, she asked chat how to turn subs on. Not as a joke, as logistics. My revenge is being successful. She said it. She meant it. She is not the passive baby mama in this story. She is a streamer who happens to be having a baby with another streamer, and she is not planning to be the one holding the smaller bag when this shakes out. This isn't a paternity story. This is a platform story. Blueface isn't fighting Nevaeh over whose baby it is. He's fighting Nevaeh over whose account monetizes the baby's existence. The DNA request is leverage. The shelter dig is leverage. The Chrisean at the airport optics are leverage. The stream canceling for the birth is leverage. Every move he's making right now is a move in a negotiation over whose brand this child belongs to. And her countermove, her I need to know how to turn subs on move, is her walking into that negotiation with her own table. Now, the cynics are going to push back and say, she's still on his stream, she's still in his orbit, she still called him first, she's still in a hospital he's driving to. Fair. She is. She hasn't won anything yet. She may not win anything. Contract-wise, she has no publishing on his catalog, no LLC we can see filed under her actual government name in California business records that ties to his revenue, no visible trademark filings under Nevaeh Akira or Akira Williams as of the last USPTO check on this. She's not built yet, but, and this is the calibrated part, she doesn't need to have already one. She just needs to be building, and my revenge is being successful is what somebody says the day they start building. It's not what somebody says the day they've already built. She's telling chat where she's going, not where she is. Old guard rap relationship playbook says the woman gets the child support, gets the reality show cameo, and gets absorbed into the man's brand orbit. New guard streamer playbook says the woman gets the child support, gets her own kick channel, gets her own sub base off the drama, and turns her exit into a launch pad. Nevaeh, 3 centimeters dilated, alone in triage, asking chat for the sub button, is running the new guard playbook in real time. Blueface, still trying to run the old guard playbook, is asking to talk to the doctor. Somebody's gonna say I'm reading too much into a woman panicking in a hospital lobby. Fine. Read the transcript back. I want this baby out of me. I'm tired. I'm done playing. That's not panic. That's a decision. She scheduled the sweep. She did the walking. She got the ball. She did the castor oil. She streamed the drive. She timed the exit. And on the way out of the pregnancy, she told the audience, and by extension told him, that the next version of her isn't going to be asking him for permission to invite anybody to any baby shower ever again. The name of the baby is Johnathan Jamall Porter, Jr. And I want you to notice something. Quietly, the child's public naming is the one thing in this entire timeline where Blueface got a clean win. She let him have the junior. She let him have his name. She gave up the naming rights and kept the exit strategy. That's a trade she's aware she made. He probably isn't. Watch what happens when the first kick payout hits her account with her own sub count attached. That's the tell. The moment Nevaeh's dashboard clears its first 4-figure or 5-figure payout under her own channel, not his, not shared, the tone of every subsequent stream she does changes. Expect a rebrand attempt. Expect a merch drop. Expect a podcast tease. The revenge line was a mission statement, and mission statements, this specific, don't stay decorative. They go on merchandise inside 90 days. By the time the child is a month old, don't be surprised if there's a revenge is being successful tee for sale on a Shopify store nobody had 2 weeks ago. Watch the DNA angle too, because the wild card here isn't whether the baby is Blueface. It's what happens if the result comes back and confirms it and Blueface still tries to publicly downplay the confirmation. If he does that on stream, the room turns on him faster than it turned on the shelter comment. The stream audience will absorb a lot of things, but a father publicly hedging on a confirmed paternity result while sitting next to Chrisean Rock at a restaurant somewhere in the valley is the kind of clip that gets pulled onto every gossip feed and cited for the next 3 years. If the result is his and he acts unbothered, the sympathy economy shifts entirely to Nevaeh. Once the dust settles on that scenario, she has the moral high ground and the sub-base at the same time, which is a combination he has not encountered in a baby mama before. The 5-year residue is the part nobody's pricing in. In 5 years, Solar Porter is a toddler, JR is a preschooler, and Chrisean's son with Blueface, Chrisean Jesus Malone Jr., born September 3rd, 2023, per Wikipedia's Blueface entry, is a kindergartner. 3 children, 3 mothers, 3 parallel streaming lifetimes archived on Kik and Instagram and TikTok. The kids grow up with their births live-streamed. The kids grow up with the DNA disputes searchable on Google. The kids grow up with the shelter clips still up on Facebook aggregators. That's the residue, not the paternity result, not the sub-count, the archive. This is a generation of children being born into a permanent public record of their parents' worst hours, and the industry hasn't figured out yet what that means for them at 15. Nevaeh, for what it's worth, said on stream, "It's okay for you to go through things with your first baby, your firstborn. That makes y'all even stronger." She's aware. Whether that awareness translates into her pulling JR's content off her channel once the newborn phase ends is the actual question worth watching. If she keeps him on camera, the cynical read wins retroactively. If she pulls him off camera by the 6-month mark, the revenge is success framing holds. The next phase looks like this: a DNA test result inside 30 days, a solo Nevaeh Kik channel with independent monetization inside 60 days, a merch attempt inside 90, and a Chrisean Rock reentry into the storyline inside 45. Because Chrisean is a variable that never stays off stage for long, and her flight out of LAX yesterday isn't a permanent exit, it's an intermission. When she comes back, and she will, the calculus resets. The promise at the top was that the story wasn't about the DNA test, it was about who was actually being built on this Monday afternoon. Now you've seen the paper. Blueface asked to talk to the doctor. Nevaeh asked chat how to turn on subs. One of those questions is about a birth. The other one is about a business. You get to decide which one the next 5 years will remember. If this walkthrough hit the way you needed it to hit, tap the like, subscribe if you haven't, keep the bell on so the next case doesn't get buried in the algorithm. Drop your read in the comments. Is Nevaeh building or is Nevaeh performing building? I'm reading them. Next one loads soon. Wrap and receipt out.